Yes, 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 yes. You already know what time it is. It is me. He is I, and I am him. I am he that they call the Alpha Male. All right. Now, you've heard all the conversation earlier this week. You've heard everybody talk about it. I finally have the opportunity to not only just talk about it, but I got somebody that's going to be able to lend just a tad bit of some information towards it. Um, or at least give their opinion. Now, as you can see behind me, I said Florida State should be in the playoffs. I didn't say that Florida State should be number one. I didn't say that Florida State is the best team in the nation. I just said Florida State should be in the college football playoffs. And that's just how I feel. But now I want to go to somebody that has he wasn't in the college football playoffs, but he played it around the time of the BCS. For those of you who remember the early 19 no, not early 1900s, the late 1900s, and you all know about the BCS, you know what I mean? The last quarterback to win the BCS was Jameis Winston when he was playing for, ironically, Florida State. So we want to go ahead and jump right into it really quickly. I have close friend of mine, 701 representative, Coach DeMario Mentor. How are you doing, good sir? I'm glad to see you. Good to see
Always,
you back in the building.
always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure to be on with you.
For sure, for sure. Now we got to get into this, man, because it's been bothering me. I've been trying to hold it in, and now we're at the point now we got to talk about it. So,
Yes, sir.
you being a Georgia alum, how do you feel about the outcome of the college football playoffs?
We put it in other people's hands. We should have just handled business. If
Mhm.
we just would have handled business, we wouldn't even been in this situation from jump. So we would have went out there, made the field goal, had a couple of stops on defense, not get blown up. We'd have been in there. So,
Yeah,
but
for
as far
sure.
as the decision, um, we knew it was gonna be wild from already. From
Hmm.
week 2, week 3, we knew it was gonna be a wild decision. So to
Hmm.
let it play out how it did, I am shocked. I'm not gonna lie, I am shocked. I thought Florida State would have been in there too because they went undefeated, ACC champions. But I can understand why they didn't put it in though because of the quarterback. Their quarterback's down. That's a whole different team than they are with that number 2 and number 3 quarterback.
Now, before I go any further, guys, I want to make sure that we give just a little bit of some backstory real quick. Of course, you guys remember Demario Mentor. He was here last year when Georgia won the second national championship. We talked about that, him being an alumni. And now um, he is, of course, a coach. I want to say congratulations on the season, first of all.
Appreciate you.
And you guys got a freaking stud at running back there that just
Yes,
crushed every
sir.
record,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So major shouts out to you guys, man. Give them a round of applause.
Appreciate
That's
you.
pretty big. That's pretty
Yeah.
big. But getting back into this, I understand what you're saying, but let's go back to Georgia because I feel like Georgia still one loss still shouldn't, you know what I mean? I understand, but let's really dig into this because there was a lot of conversation this week about well they shouldn't. Now we know that next year the field is going to expand to
Yes.
12 teams,
Right.
which is going to be exponentially great.
Hmm.
But this year, Georgia still I get it, but if we're going on style points because that's what it sounds like. You
Yeah.
didn't get blown out. You
Hmm.
were in a neutral site, so it was no home and home.
Hmm.
It was a championship caliber game.
Right.
And this is only on style points, not on face value, but on style points. I mean, you still defend. I still feel you should defend the championship.
I totally agree, but it
Right.
was just from my point of view looking in. Um, they were saying this though from jump from day one, from us not having the best schedule or one of the hardest schedules in college football. So I think that was always a knock against us this year. A couple of teams that we faced earlier wasn't ranked, and
Mhm.
that was always the perception that we wasn't playing a hard enough schedule from
Right.
this year. So,
Yeah,
and I think
UT
that just came
Martin,
back in.
Ball State. Yeah, yeah,
Yep,
I get it.
I think that came
But
back and bit us. So,
yeah, that came back to bite you guys in the tail. I could see that, but and I'm gonna be bringing up a few of the other not options, but I'm gonna bring up
mhm,
some other scenarios because again, it just don't sit right with me to
right,
leave let's go down the list. To leave a conference champion, an undefeated conference champion, and in my honest opinion, regardless of the quarterback, let's roll out who you got. You know what I mean? What we say, we not reload. We not
You're not
putting
rebuilding,
up. We reloading.
reloading. Right.
We reloading. You know what I mean?
If they would have showed up better in the game in the SEC
Mhm.
championship, I think yes, they would have put them in there. If they would have performed better, but I think the committee was just looking at, hey, they got down to their second and third quarterback. That's not going to bring fans. That's not going to bring money to the table. No, we need a better matchup than this. And then guess what? Who's the darlings of college football? All right. Texas being in there makes college football better.
It
The
does.
name Texas just makes college football better. So I think that's what they were thinking too.
But now
But
again, I'm gonna my light's gonna be ticking off every time you say something because it's just like Bama lost to Texas at home. Now, granted, Texas should have been like that they should be in there regardless. You
who,
know what I mean?
Texas?
And yeah, Texas definitely should have been in
Okay.
there. If
Okay.
you beat you're a conference champion, you beat somebody who later became a conference champion, and they beat the number one team. So, in my opinion, that boosts your resume to the umpteenth power. Again, in my opinion, I feel like Alabama should
They
not have
caught
been in there.
Alabama early.
Again, they Alabama shouldn't have gotten in my
You don't
opinion.
think so?
But
You
now,
don't think Alabama should got in at all?
no, no, and just as well as we're looking at the Florida State fans and saying, maybe next year, guys, it's okay. It's the Nick Saban Invitational. You know, it's that way of thinking that's just like, are we kidding? Case in point, and I've been saying this all
Okay.
week. It's like last year if we go into the NFC Championship and Brock Purdy is out and they're down to Debo Samuels as their quarterback. And let's just say, for instance, they won. Let's just
Right.
say, for shits and giggles, they beat Philadelphia. Well,
Mm-hmm.
how would we feel if we went over to San Francisco and said, "Hey, you know what? Y'all ain't gonna bring enough money. Y'all ain't gonna. We can't deal with it. So let's just go ahead and give it to Philadelphia. Let them do it. Jalen Hurts is still healthy. You know what I mean? It's just I get it,
It
but
doesn't
at
sit
the
right.
same time, that's bull jive. That's
Yeah.
bull jive.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. But that's where we at. That is where we at. Like this is what we signed up for. This is
Right.
what we signed up for a couple of years ago. We signed up for this. So um did it hurt? Yeah, it hurt. It hurt. But we didn't handle business. That's what I go back to, and that's what I can lean on. Like we just didn't handle business as a team. But Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
they beat us in the SEC, man. Like that's the criteria. That's one of the major criteria. So what is there to argue? I guess.
Now, another thing that I've ran into, and I want to say EJ Manuel, former Florida State quarterback, actually brought it up and made sense about it. He was saying that, well, the notion around again is that everybody looks at the SEC as the pinnacle,
Right.
and it's agreeable. It is the darling of college football.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Florida State, they went 2-0 against SEC schools. The ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, went 6-4 against SEC schools. And then at this point, going into the playoffs as well as the bowl season,
Mm-hmm.
we'll be looking at more SEC and ACC matchups, as well as the performance of the conference in general
Against
versus
your
its other competition.
right.
So again, so now it brings me to this question: Has the SEC lost its luster to a degree? Because I know as long as Saban's there, it's going to be looked at as the darling. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't think anybody's scared of the SEC as much as they used to be.
We
And
are
this is
we are
speaking
top.
to an SEC guy, you know.
We are top heavy. We are top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But with a couple of schools coming over, we are going back to be a powerhouse. Like it's going to be a fight. next year. It's going to be up and down a who's who of games, competition, talent. Um, the SEC will be a very, very great thing to look at next year with all games being on the schedule. So I think we're back. I think we're back. Everybody wants to come, like you said, the pinnacle. They joined up because we are that good, and they know that SEC brings fame.
And NFL talent. I can't
Yes.
lie. I mean, most
So
NFL talent come from either Bama or Georgia. The entire Philadelphia football team looks like a
like
Georgia and or Alabama game. I'm just saying.
yeah, the UGA Eagles. That's how we do it.
The UGA Eagles.
And so hey, that's how we
I
do it.
like that. Now, looking into next week's game, well, not next week, it's December 30th. You guys taking on Florida State.
Yes.
Are you overconfident going into this game?
I'm not overconfident, but I am confident. We're going to beat them. We're going to beat them. Give us 2 touchdowns.
Okay, all right, a 2 touchdown. Now, last year I did ask if he were to what is it give us a prediction. So this year we are looking at Georgia taking on Florida State. All right, about a 2 touchdown lead. I'll say that Florida State covers.
What's
At
the
the
point?
basis of it, I would say at least a 7 point. 7 point. I think they'll come within 7 points.
Nah,
I think they'll be within a 7 point gap. I think they have a lot to prove for
I,
one,
I do agree. So they're going to come to play. Yeah.
and I think the defense, they're playing pissed off. You as a defensive player, playing pissed off, you can't nobody beat you.
But that's why I think we're going to be 2 touchdowns because we're going to play pissed off.
Okay.
I think that Kirby is down there right now saying, "Hey, this is the start of a message for next year too." Like I think they're gonna come in pissed off because, want to be honest, we got pushed around. We got pushed around.
Alabama came in with what they wanted, and they took it. I give it to you.
That's not gonna happen too many more times. Like it's been shown, we're gonna fix it, and Kirby's gonna fix it, and yeah. So that's why I say Florida State pissed off. We're pissed off, and I think the defense is even more pissed off, and I think that's going to be the difference. Our defense is pissed that we.
But you got a quarterback. That's the shining light, in my honest opinion. You still got a quarterback.
Yes.
You still got a quarterback, and I'm noticing the difference between the NFL and college.
Mm-hmm.
You can survive in the NFL not without a quarterback, but with a second or third string. As you can see, Brock Purdy, who is Mr. Irrelevant, has now become the most relevant quarterback in the NFL. And now when you look at college, when Florida State dropping somebody, it just changes the whole trajectory of the team and where they're going.
Why is that though? Because a couple of years ago, there was some stat quarterback rooms, like.
So I had this argument with I wouldn't say an argument, but I had this discussion with my wife. We talk about sports often.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about the NIL. And
Right.
I was explaining how the NIL has leveled the playing field for schools like, let's say, in Arkansas, let's say UAB.
Yeah.
And even down, and we've even seen it at Benedict, Tuskegee, Clark, Allen University. I've seen it even on the D2 level.
Okay.
And so now that the NIL is starting to level out the playing field, you have situations like Alabama, like a lot of the blue bloods. They're losing a lot of the number one talents.
Mm-hmm.
They're losing a lot of those number one talents. Like you said, there were stacked quarterback rooms. Joe Burrow was at one point an Ohio State Buckeye. Go figure.
Search the field.
Right. So I feel like now we're gonna see more parity in college football where people are gonna not only just enter the transfer portal just because their coach don't like me, but they're gonna go for their chances. They're gonna go for their opportunities. They're gonna try to pick their spots. Now, if you were in this day and age, would you have considered? And I know that if any Georgia fan or Georgia alumni watching, I'm not saying that he would leave. I'm just asking. Could you see yourself using the transfer portal at some point?
Not gonna lie, it would have been on my mind. It would have been at top of my mind because now it's the norm. It's the norm to transfer. It's the norm to, oh, if it's not working out, let me leave. It's the norm to for be like, okay, well, I don't like you said, I don't like this coach. I don't like how things going. Let me go ahead and try another spot. It wasn't the norm back then, and actually, I think it was frowned upon because it seemed like you're giving up or you're not following it through. So, but there were some cases back then where it was the right move for players,
Hmm. Hmm.
but majority of the time it was like, oh, you just can't handle it or you just can't make it here.
You can't
And
hack it. You
yeah,
can't
you
hack
can't
it
hack
for
it.
sure, for sure.
Um,
Does that
so
make players softer nowadays? I mean, we're no, we're dealing with the new generation. I mean, of course, you've already been to the league, you've already been to
mm,
college. You've done it, and now you are imparting your wisdom on the next generation. Does it make them softer? You know what I mean? Or does that change your coaching style?
it definitely has changed my coaching style. I do have to approach the kids in a different manner and a different tone sometimes, but my message and my core beliefs are still the same. Hey, you're gonna come, you're gonna work hard. You feel me? You work hard, you do what you're supposed to do, everything else is gonna come. And if you don't work hard,
You get out of it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now looking
yeah,
into the Florida State game again, he said, you said 14 points.
yeah.
I'm gonna remember this because I'm gonna dial back on this on the 30th, and I'm gonna check and see. I at least see Florida State covering the spread. I at least see this being a decent game. I do not see a blowout like Georgia versus TCU last year. I mean, and that was another thing that a lot of people kept bringing up. Let's not forget, TCU beat Michigan.
Right. They beat
TCU
Mich
beat Michigan.
Yes,
Let's
they
not
did.
let's stop using the TCU thing. They ran into a buzzsaw with Georgia, simple and plain. But let's not just talk about TCU as if they were a Rudy Poo. You know what I
No,
mean? Like they beat
no, they weren't
Michigan.
rude to pull. They weren't rude to pull. We were just on our game. We were focused. We were locked in, and we knew what we had to do. And
It's so many arguments I got for this. Look, I'm locked and loaded. We can go a whole nother 17 minutes because I am locked and loaded with arguments. Florida State should be number one, should be in the playoffs, man, for
I,
real.
would you want Florida State to go and get blew out?
I don't care.
You
I
you
mean,
just want them there just
I
to
just
see,
because you know what? Because again, I don't want there to be a notion that the SEC runs college football. I've
but it's
heard
already out
things.
there. It's already
Yeah, of
out
course,
there,
it's already there. It's already out there. There's nothing I can do about it.
right?
It's just my personal feelings. I just, I ain't gonna hold you. It's just my personal emotions in this. That I'm gonna argue it down to the lights come to the cows come home. But it's nothing that I can do. And yes, the SEC is the darling. But I ain't gonna lie. I felt like Nick Saban paid somebody. He said, if we win this game, damn it, y'all better make sure we in that playoff.
Oh man, and what does Nick do? What does Saban do when his back is against the
He
wall?
wins. He wins. Simple and plain. He wins. I give him that. He is the resurrection of Bear Bryant. I'll just tell you that. He is the physical manifestation of what Alabama stands for. So I can't even say nothing to it. I can't even say no. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Alpha Male Sports. I am he is I, and I am him. I am he. They call the Alpha Male, all that good stuff. We got Demario Mentor in the building, and we have just got done talking about this floor. And finally, we can put it to rest this year. Everybody's going to their respective bowl games.
Yep.
We can put it to rest. But y'all know how I feel. Florida State should be in the playoffs. Take it easy, brother. Thank you,
Yes,
man.
sir. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
God bless.